Welcome back, guys. In this tutorial we are going to learn how to make a cup from start to finish. That includes prepping the tumbler straight out of the box, doing the beautiful ombre that is on this tumbler, a little extra ink epoxy application, which is my personal favorite, as well as applying a clear cast decal, cleaning your tumbler, and even packaging it. So I think this is a really helpful video for beginners out there or someone wanting to nail the ombre application as well as a little extra incorporated epoxy application. So let's get started. So let's get this tumbler out of the box. I will put the bubble wrap back down in there and place the lid in there as well, just so I can stay organized. And I put it on a shelf with all of my empty boxes. I keep my empty boxes and my unused tumblers separate. We'll push that little sticker down on the bottom. You don't have to do that. It's just my personal preference. You can remove it if you'd like. And I'm using a 220/320 sanding block to give this a little roughness, so the spray paint will adhere to the cup a little bit better. And here I'm just making sure that I get really good around the top and the bottom rim. I feel like it takes the most impact taking the lids off as well as sitting the cups down. So I just make sure that it has a really nice good grip on there. And then we will wipe it off with a damp cloth. You can wash it however you like. Just make sure you get all of that dust off from sanding. Y'all, please forgive me, but I did forget to record spray painting my ombre. So here are the two colors that I used. My tip for spray painting an ombre is make sure you hold the cup at a good distance away from the spray paint so that you get a nice little mist. Paint in short bursts. That way you're not oversaturating and you can work your way between both of the colors. And you'll get a really nice subtle ombre. You can see here that I do have some blue going into my white and white going into the blue, but it's okay. My glitter is going to cover that. So you don't have to be extremely particular on this. Just make sure that you do have some sort of blending going in between your colors. And then you'll work about getting it precise whenever you pour your glitter on. So to do the epoxy method on applying your glitter, you will need very, very little epoxy. This is a 20-ounce tumbler, and I'm just using the leftover epoxy I had on my glove from application on other cups. So it's less than 1 milliliter. If I ever have to glitter a tumbler and I don't have any other cups that I need to work on, then I will just have a little mold set to the side so I can use my excess instead of just throwing it away. Because it is suggested to mix at least 5 milliliters of epoxy at a time to help it cure properly. And as you can see, I'm stretching this as far as it will possibly go. You want the thinnest application that you can possibly get. That way it's more of a tacky glue and you don't have lines or ripples in it, so your glitter is not going to sink down into little pools of epoxy. I'm going to set it to the side for about 5 minutes to get that epoxy to level itself out in case I have any lines in there. And then we will come back and do our ombre. The two glitters that I'm using is Flurries and Semper by Peachy Olive Glitters. I'm going to go very heavy around the rim of my cup, probably about 1 inch to 2 inches, depending on how far you want your top color to go down. And once you have good coverage at the top, turn your cup at an angle, hold your glitter about 1 foot up in the air, and just lightly sprinkle. This is going to allow it to, bits and pieces of this glitter is going to fall down towards the bottom of the cup. And that is going to help us get a really nice ombre when we start adding our Semper on. And make sure you tap off all your excess glitter. That way we don't have any glitter contamination whenever we do our Semper. And we're going to do the exact same thing on the bottom that we did at the rim of the cup and apply it very, very heavily. You're going to do this about 1 inch to 2 inches up from the bottom. Then turn your cup at an angle. Hold your glitter up about 1 foot away from the cup and sprinkle the glitter on. And I didn't tap off the excess of my blue glitter simply because there's some white pieces that could fall in. So I just pull this to the side and then tap it off later and put in my dump glitter jar. A little extra epoxy dries in about 4 to 6 hours. So I'm actually just gonna let this sit for 3 to 4 hours and then give 2 nice coats of Rust-Oleum Matte Clear. And we will be ready for our first coat of epoxy in about 45 minutes after I put those clear coats on. Let's not forget our mask and our gloves, and we can get started. So I will be reviewing application, mixing and application for a little extra ink epoxy later in the video when we do our top coats. But for now, we just want to focus on not mixing our 2 colors here. So begin with applying to 1 single color. And then you're going to move down or up to the next color, and then you can apply in the center. Although we did seal it, stray glitter will somehow find its way in places that you do not want it to go. So this is the best way to prevent that as much as possible. Also make sure that you do focus around the top rim of the cup and the bottom. Those are the 2 hardest places personally to get the epoxy to stay thick in those areas. So you can definitely go back after it sits for a few minutes and add a little bit more. But I just like to focus on it from the beginning and make sure that they do have really good coverage. And then we're going to take our torch, turn it on the highest setting, and move it in extremely fast sweeping motions while allowing the flame to touch our cup. This is going to pop any micro bubbles that you may have created while mixing or applying over the rough textured glitter without overheating the epoxy. With the Peachy olive glitters and a little extra epoxy, I only actually had to do 1 layer on this cup to get good glitter coverage, and I can move along to the next step. You may need to do a second coat in there so you do not have such a rough surface. And then we will take a piece of sandpaper or a sanding block and go around our rim so we expose the stainless. This is going to give us a really good seal, and we will be able to trim the epoxy off of the top. So the lid will seal really nicely on the top, and you'll have less chances of chipping or the seal being broken around the rim. And once that stainless is exposed and nice and even around the top, I will lightly sand the rest of my cup down just to give the epoxy something to adhere to on my next coat. And go wash this off with some water and some dish detergent. Dry it off, and we will be ready for our next coat. Once that second or third coat of epoxy has dried completely, I'm going to apply a clear cast decal from Gracefully created. All of her decals are amazing, and I absolutely love using them because they make cups so simple. You can do a simple ombre, put one of her decals on there, and everyone loves them. So for these decals, you want to be very, very careful about touching the paper. Your fingers will leave fingerprints on these, so that's why you see me just holding it with like the corner of my nail. I'm going to cut a little piece of the edge off so that I can push that down or remove it and readjust it to where I need the decal to lay. Once I get it positioned where I want it, I will stick that side down, remove the backing, and apply the decal as the backing has been removed. And as you can see, I have sanded the bottom rim of my cup again. There was a little bit of a rough surface there, so I just wanted to sand it down so it can be nice and smooth after these top coats. I have a little extra ink epoxy, even amounts of part A and part B in my 2 cups here. I'm going to heat up part A using my heat gun and just turning my cup. You can do this by placing it in a hot water bath. Some use bottle warmers. There's lots of ways that you can heat this up. Just be sure that you do not overheat it and you do not get any water in it whatsoever, or that will cause your epoxy to flash cure, or it will get cloudy if there's drips of water in there. So you can see the consistency of my part A. I'm going to pour it into part B. And then we will begin mixing our part A and B together. There is no right or wrong way to do this. I'm a fast stirrer. I'm very impatient, so I mix my epoxy fast, and I normally do that for roughly 2 minutes. But if you do like to mix slow and get the nice clear result from the get-go, then that's typically around the 3-minute range. You just want to make sure that they both are mixed together 100%. If you stir fast and you do get lots of bubbles in there, now for this video you'll see that I am stirring pretty slow just so you guys can see the crystal clearness of the a little extra ink epoxy. But if you do mix fast and you get all of those bubbles, micro bubbles, in your cup before you even apply, then we're going to also go over how to torch the epoxy. I always torch my cups just in case, especially if it's a rough surface underneath. So let's say if you have a lot of decals, or if there's textured glitter, textured vinyl underneath, the friction is naturally going to get the micro bubbles in there. So a torch will put forceful heat on the epoxy and pop the bubbles on contact. A heat gun is only going to blow, of course, the heat on your cup, heat your epoxy, and it can cause ripples or cause the epoxy to repel from your cup. It can actually cause more problems than it solves. So a torch is really what you're going to need for a little extra epoxy. And I'll speed this up for the remainder of me mixing this. But if anyone needs any additional tips and tricks for just mixing or ALE application in general, I will drop them down in the description for you guys, just so you have something to reference to and don't have to, constantly come back to this video. But now we're going to get started on application. As you can see, the way that I mixed very slowly, I have crystal clear epoxy here. And I'm just going to pour a little bit as I go and sweep it onto my cup. There's no perfect way to do this as long as the cup is covered 100%. And ALE does like to be put on a little bit thicker, so you'll see me going around the rims and pulling it down just kind of light-handed. I'm not very heavy pushing it down onto my cup. I want to get a nice thick coat on here, and it will dry perfectly even. And now we are going to torch. If you have a smaller torch like this is actually a kitchen torch that I ordered from Amazon. I'll drop that in the description for you guys as well, in case you need to purchase one. But if you have one similar to this, put it on high so you get the largest flame. Allow the flame to touch your cup and just go in fast sweeping motions. And you'll typically only have to do this about one time around the cup, and every single one of those micro bubbles, if they're there, will be gone. I will turn this off in about 3 to 4 hours. ALE does drive extremely fast, so I will be able to take it off of my turner, but you still do need to allow it to fully cure for 72 hours before you hand over the cup to your customers. So here we are going to go around the top rim, and typically if you would have just start to finish went up to the rim and over it with your epoxy, then we would not be able to do this because that would break the seal. However, in the very beginning, we did sand around the top, leaving that stainless rim. So now it is possible for us to go over with a new craft knife, I must say. Make sure the blade is extremely sharp. Go around the top edge of the rim and trim that epoxy off. That way the epoxy is just going to the rim instead of over it, allowing that seal to last a lot longer. Next, we'll take a paper towel and pure acetone. You can get this in any painting section at hardware store. Mine came from Walmart. Take some acetone, put it on the paper towel, and clean the inside of the rim if you have any sort of residue in there from spray painting or any little bits of epoxy. This is going to clean it off really good. And next, I know a lot of people do not do this, but I am a huge fan of Barkeeper's Friend. It really cleans stainless good. So I go over the inside of my rim with Barkeeper's Friend. You can also get this at Walmart. And this is going to give the inside a nice smooth finish. So you won't see any of my scratches or anything from where it's been on my turner or from where I use the knife to clean the inside of it. And then once I finished that, I just took it to the sink and washed it with some Dawn and water, dried it off really good, and it is ready to box up. Now, I'll just speed through this part, but I do just, I put the lid on my cup and I will wrap it in tissue paper at least 3 times loosely just to give it some additional cushion, and then put it back into the bubble wrap sleeve that it came in and then down into the box. And this box that I'll be using is from Uline. It is a 12 by 4 by 4, and it is perfect for any 20 or 30 ounce skinny tumblers. The tumblers fit perfectly in here with the extra padding that I'll add in. So I know for certain if the post office drops them or anything like that, they're going to be cushioned enough that they will make it to their new home safely. The next thing I use for padding is this priority mail envelope. You can actually get these for free off of the USPS website, as well as the fragile stickers that you see to this side, and we'll be using those a little later. I'll wrap the cup in this and place it down in the box. This gives padding on every side, and then on both ends I will place some tissue paper or some brown paper, just whatever I can find to help pad the ends of the tumbler. And then I will take some of this shredded paper, sprinkle it on top to make it just look cute. Add in my business card and the straw and close the top up. And the very last thing that I do is add those fragile stickers on if it is a cup that I'm shipping. I will put one on every side of the box. Like I said, these are free on the USPS website, even free shipping. But I definitely want to get the point across that this cannot be thrown around. So here we go. But that is all for today. Hope you guys have enjoyed. If you have any questions, of course, just drop them down below for me. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching.